It's upbeat, you can rock to it, I like it. Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Ben from Indonesia. How are you guys? I hope you guys are doing great. If you're new to the channel, hi, I'm Ben. I'm from Indonesia and I make music reaction, movie reaction, and here and there I make a few reviews. If you guys like what you see, please subscribe to my channel, like my stuff, and get notified. So today we're gonna be doing a review of one of my favorite artists of all time, that's Mr. Bryan Adams. As you may know, I'm a pretty big Bryan Adams fan. In fact, a few months ago when he released his first single from his forthcoming album at the time, So Happy It Hurts, the title track, I made a music reaction to it and you can watch it somewhere over here. Let me just preface it by saying, even though I'm a huge Bryan Adams fan, his last album, Shine a Light, just didn't connect with me. I thought it was a little bit scattered. I just felt that album was a little too experimental in terms of Bryan trying to be a little bit more current and how to stay fresh and how to get airplay on, quote unquote, today's radio. And it just didn't work. But last year, he'd been teasing a lot about the new album, and he kept saying that this new album was gonna be the rock album that we've all been waiting for and yearning for. So I got really excited, and as you may know, I made a few reaction videos to the singles that he'd released so far at the time. I'm super excited and I can't wait to tell you my thoughts. And what I'm gonna do right now is I'm just gonna go through each of the tracks on the album and I'm just gonna share my thoughts. Alright guys, before we start, let me just state the obvious.
This is just 100% my opinion.
If you don't agree with it, that's okay. Track number 1, So Happy It Hurts. Like I mentioned on my reaction video, it's a great rock song. It's nice to see Bryan embracing the vibe from his 90s era music. From the minute you hear the intro to the guitars and you hear that classic Mutt Lange background vocals, that very typical Bryan Adams / Def Leppard type background vocals, you're just like, yeah, this is so Waking Up the Neighbors, this is so 1990s, I dig it. And the few opening chords, you're just like, yes, this is classic Bryan. I still think the same way I did a few months ago when I listened to it first as a single. It's still a great track. I think it's a great opening track, and I think it's wise why Bryan chose this to be the first single as well as the title of the album. It pretty much gives you the vibe of the rest of the album. It's a positive number, it's very joyful. I've already talked a lot about So Happy It Hurts on my reaction video. Here I am a few months later. I still feel the same. It's a very good song. I think the message he's trying to send is very clear. It's something that we need right now, and I think it's the perfect album opener, and it's also the perfect album title. I think the song would be 10 times better had he incorporated a guitar solo. And for the last few months I've been listening to this song a lot, and I still wait for that guitar solo. I think it would have been so much better if there was a guitar solo, because it's certainly lacking one. On a side note, this song reminds me of Bryan's 2004 song. I think it was a single too. Open Road. If you put these two songs together, I think they would, bookend each other very nicely. Alright, so Never Gonna Rain, I also made a music reaction to it. I was really excited about this song. In fact, I remember Bryan teasing the first few seconds of a verse and I was already hooked. Most of the songs on this album, I could definitely box them and put it in, let's say, oh, track 5 sounds like something from his Waking Up the Neighbors era. Track 7 sounds like something from Reckless or Cuts Like a Knife, and so on and so forth. But for me, me, Never Gonna Rain, you can't really put it in a box anywhere from his from his back catalog, because it sounds fresh, it sounds new, it sounds something that Bryan hasn't done before, and I think that's why it's one of my favorite songs off of the new album. There's just so many hooks in this song, from the intro, the bass, and the guitar riffs, the chorus, the background vocals, the melodies. It's a very short song, but in the span of a few minutes, it's really intriguing to the ears. You lift me up. I think this song is your standard Bryan Adams ballad. I think it's something that he could write in his sleep. Classic Bryan Adams ballad. Is it the best ballad on this album? Probably not. The melody is just okay. A few of the lyrics are kind of cheesy. It's cool the way he mentions, you know, beautiful people, precious people. He mentions children and women. All that stuff is great, but in general, the song is just okay. It's not something that I would replay a lot. Alright, and then we got the fourth track, I've Been Looking For You. Here's the thing, the minute you hear the intro, you go straight to You Belong to Me from Adams's Get Up album, because it's basically the same. It's in the same chords, the same melody. You can sing both songs at the same time. You know, you got like da 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 da, you belong to me, and then you can go. When I first heard the teaser that he had shared on his Instagram, I was like, why is he repeating the same stuff again? This is You Belong to Me, it's even in the same key, it's the same blah, blah, blah. But when I heard it in its full context in the album, it's miles and miles better than You Belong to Me. Why? Because it's just a whole lot richer. He changes the chords, the bass line is more interesting, the guitar work is more interesting, you know, the key changes, and even the ending is just a lot better, and it's more varied than You Belong to Me. Because, you know, You Belong to Me, which is a great song in itself, it's kind of repetitive, especially in the chorus, you know, where it goes, it just goes on and on and on like that. But I've Been Looking For You is actually a lot more richer, it goes to other places. It's the same rockabilly spirit, obviously, it's from the same DNA. And I heard that this song was originally written for the Pretty Woman musical, but it got axed. It works perfectly on this album. And yes, if you put it in Get Up, it would have been seamless. Apart from it being insanely similar to You Belong to Me, I still think this is one of the best songs on the album. And I bet it would sound so much better live. Alright, so now we go to Always Have, Always Will. This, I think, is the best ballad on this album. It's classic love song Bryan Adams. You know, if you like Heaven, if you like Straight from the Heart, Everything I Do It For You, this is it. Something that is bound to be another great Bryan Adams ballad. Something that I really like about this song is reggae aspect to it. Even though the lyrics are very straightforward, it's just basically a guy saying that I love you then, I still love you now, yay. The melody is quite rich, even though there's a very short guitar solo, but it's still very nice, and it's classic Bryan. It's classic Bryan Adams love song. That's what it is. Okay, something funny that I'm sure you guys are thinking about as well when you hear the song is the song begins with that guitar riff and Bryan singing Oh, and it definitely takes me back to Heaven. Alright, so even though this song is very straightforward, simple lyric, it works because the song is great, because the melody is great, Bryan's voice is just superb, it's awesome. Next we have On the Road. This is another song that I also reacted to. In my reaction video, I didn't really, fall in love with the song because I thought the song was, it started really cool with the riff, I like that part, but the minute it goes to the chorus is when I think that the song loses the steam very, very quickly, because the chorus is very generic, it's very flat. I think he could have done more. And I don't think it helped that the lyrics is not very good. I don't know, I just think it's very repetitive and the melody could have been more interesting. And when I was listening to it initially, I remember that as the song was ending, during its climax, I was like, oh, maybe a really cool guitar solo could really, help lift this song up. And alas, no guitar solo, it just ended. It's a classic filler song on an album, I'm sorry. And then we get to Kick Ass, which is very, very interesting. I remember when I first heard it, and I think I said this on my reaction video as well. I think the long monologue by John Cleese, at the time I thought like, who's gonna listen to this every time, we wanna hear the song? You know what? Upon listening to the album in context, I actually think that it's rather clever and it fits. Because when I first heard it, I was like, I'm just gonna skip it. I'm just gonna listen to the quick edited version of Kick-Ass. But now, you know what? The song is not the same without the very cool monologue, because it's not just a monologue. It's got music. It's got, little cool nuances around it, which is cool. And it's a really nice build up to the Let There Be Rock moment. All right, so Kick-Ass, as you may have known, I love this song. I think it's classic. Waking Up the Neighbors from Bryan. I think this is the most close to Waking Up the Neighbors that we're gonna get from Bryan in 2022, and that's fine. I think the song is straight up Mutt Lange, straight up, 90s Bryan's, the harmonies, the guitars. Although the drums could have been a little bit harder, and even the guitars, I think. But you know what? This is one of the best songs on the album, and I know that Bryan wrote this song so he could have an opener on a concert, and it's perfect. It's perfect for that. Alright, moving on, we've got I Ain't Worth Shit Without You. Alright, so we go from one rock song to the next. This is also a very late 80s, early 90s rock about it. It's got this, it's simple power chords rock. One thing that I noticed about this song is that it's got a riff. I mentioned on my last video that I really, really, really miss those classic signature Bryan Adams riffs. We don't get that anymore. We got it from Reckless, we got it from Cuts Like a Knife, and Waking Up Neighbors, even 18 Till I Die. And luckily we get a little bit on this one, so I'm very happy about that. Yeah, this song is really great. I think it's cool, and my favorite part of the song is during the climax, the last chorus. It's just so much fun. Let's do this. Oh yeah, another thing that I noticed is like most of the ballads is in the key of C. So you got Always Have, Always Will, You Lift Me Up, and you've got Let's Do This, and they're all in the key of C, which is really funny. In fact, I think Let's Do This reminds me of Let's Make a Night to Remember. Let's do this to remember. And then we have Just Like Me, Just Like You. This song is I think it's a throwback song. I think it would have fit really, really seamlessly in Bryan's Get Up album. It's got that 60s jangle pop rock music. It reminds me of the Beatles, Rubber Soul era. I think Bryan was trying to channel that. It's a good song. It's a very short song, but it's good. It comes and it goes. I don't think it overstayed its welcome. Very simple song, but it's nice. And then we got a song that is one of my favorites on the album. It's Just About Gone. Here's a funny song, because I think it's the only song on this album that is basically about, if you don't appreciate me, I'm gone. This song is very upbeat. From the minute I hear the intro, I'm hooked. It's got this very cool riff that he just, he started bopping. It's very cool. It's upbeat. You can rock to it. I like it. And then we've got the closer, we've got the ballad, These Are the Moments That Make Up My Life. Now this is a very interesting song because we all know that Bryan is a very private person. He doesn't really talk about his private life that often, and it's kind of interesting to see Bryan, to hear Bryan talk about his family life, to talk about his children and stuff like that. And it's very refreshing and it's kind of sweet. I really like that we get a small glimpse into Bryan's life. You know, when you hear a lyric like, "I like to make the kids breakfast," it's beautiful. You know, most of the lyrics on this album is pretty cheesy and very cliched, but there's a line in this song that I kind of like. You know, he sings, "Stones turn to diamonds, days turn to years, old flames turn to ashes, but love perseveres." Yeah, I like that. Alright, so what did I think of So Happy It Hurts? Well, let's talk about the cons first. We all know that Bryan made this during lockdown, so ultimately he couldn't be in the same place as his band, and that's a shame because Bryan Adams got one of the best band ever. He's got Keith Scott on guitar and he's insanely underrated. As far as I'm concerned, Keith is Bryan Adams. You know, it's like you can't take the two apart. They're just, you know, when you look at old videos where Bryan and everyone is in the same room playing a song, recording a song, and you don't have that now, it's very sad. Bryan also tried his best to, you know, make the best situation out of the hand that he's being dealt with. And I think the most obvious part of not being with his band is the drums. That's something that I noticed so much. He's got help from Pat Stewart, the drummer from his 80s days, but most of the stuff is just Bryan playing himself. It's just Bryan drumming to these tracks, and I'm not saying he's a bad drummer, but I miss the drum fills. I miss the whole richness of it all because it's very monotone. Because I can't really blame him, but all in all, it just lacks a little bit in the drum department. And another con is just when you're given a Bryan Adams album, you know what to expect. You're not expecting Dylan in terms of lyrics, or, you know, you're not gonna get a Springsteen. He's not Leonard Cohen either. It's just like, he's Bryan Adams. You know, what you see is what you get. Most of the songs that he writes are not to be, you know, decoded or anything like that. But sadly, on this album, most of these lyrics are very cliched. You know, stuff like "No man is an island" and "We won't back down because love is all around." Maybe he could have spent a little bit more time, you know, thinking of, you know, coming up with better lyrics. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is how the songs are very short. Not only are they very short, but when a song ends, the next one comes on immediately. Like, there's no gap. There's no, like, you know, 3-second gap or something. No, it's just like one song ends, boom, the other one comes. I think it's got to do with, I'm guessing it's got to do with the whole Bryan trying to, you know, put up a vinyl, so it has to fit that certain duration. But I don't know, I just think that the songs on this album, some could have been a little bit longer, some felt very cut short. And I guess the biggest con for me is, ever since last year, Bryan had been promising that this album was going to be a rocker, you know, and so, you know, the general fan would probably think that we're going to get another Reckless or Waking Up the Neighbors type album, and at the end of the day, this was not it. We got like a few rock songs and the rest is just, you know, mid-tempo ballad stuff. On the good side, I think this album is exactly what we need right now. I mean, let's be honest, the world is in a very bleak situation right now. We could all use a little hope, a little positivity, and that is certainly what this album is all about. When you listen to this album, you just, you know, you get a smile on your face, you feel very happy and joyous. It's very contagious. And I think that was what Bryan had been, you know, planning all along. Another thing, it's also a step up from his previous album, Shine a Light, which I didn't really like. This album felt a more complete album. It feels like it has a theme. It feels like it has it's just more organic instead of Shine a Light. I felt like Shine a Light was just like something that was pieced together and it just didn't gel. But this album, it flows nicely. And in terms of variety, this album just had a lot more to offer than Shine a Light. It's also nice to see a glimpse of Bryan's personal life. You know, he's opening up a little bit on this album, which is really cool to see. knowing how private he is. Listening to Bryan sing about his personal life is very unique and very rare, so that's also another plus to this album. Alright, so all in all, what I think of So Happy It Hurts is it's a good album. It's not perfect, far from it, but it's a good album. And to all of the fans, sometimes I would always get this, it's not Reckless, it's not Waking Up the Neighbors. Look, I don't think we're ever gonna get another album as good as Reckless or Waking Up the Neighbors. We gotta accept that. But you know what? We also have to be grateful that we've got Bryan Adams. The guy is 60 something years old and he's still touring. He's still making music, you know, he's not doing an album full of covers or whatever. He's still rocking. Of course, he's not rocking as hard as he did when he was, 20 or 30 or whatever, but considering he's been doing this for 40 plus years, it's an achievement in its own, and we should be really grateful for this. We're not gonna get another Reckless, and that's okay. I mean, all we can hope for is just a good album that hopefully got some rock in it. Yeah, so all in all, I think this is a very good album. I'm just glad that it's miles and miles better than Shine a Light, which I did not like. If I were to rate it somehow, out of 5 stars or something, I would give it like 3.5, close 4. It's a good album. It's definitely something that I would listen to a lot. Alright, so that was my thoughts on So Happy It Hurts. What did you guys think? Do you love the album? Please let me know in the comments. Let me know what your favorite songs are and how excited are you about this album. Alright, I guess that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ben from Indonesia. Please don't forget to like my video, subscribe to my channel, and get notified. I'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.